We don't have, the word democracy is not in our Constitution.
No?
No. That is something that the elitists push in order to gain control. I have to tell you, I really recommend doing what I do. If you're bored, if you're looking for stimulating conversation and to meet interesting people, and of course you meet a lot of assholes along the way too, you got to be cautious of that, but I don't know how I can meet the people I've met out there any other way than the way I'm doing it. In case in point, this is a French author, philosopher, archaeologist, and curious about America and democracy. And we cover a lot of bases. I mean, we'd go through the gamut on this one. So I hope you enjoy it. You know, it's worth sticking around for. There's very little I had to cut out of this because it was just, it was a good conversation. And you're going to find out something about me that, I don't know, maybe you won't like. But I'll tell you what it is. I'm a fatalist. Yeah, that's right. I have very little hope in man, and that's why I guess I have more and more faith in God, because as far as this planet goes, I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I really hope that and the good news is I've been wrong in a lot of things in my life, so let's pray I'm wrong in this one too, but anyway. All right, if you don't want to hold you too long, this one's a long one. God bless you. If you like it, you know what you do. You hit the like button and you hit the subscribe button, and then you go ahead and contribute if you want. And and then you pray for me, because that's it. That's all we got. That's all I got. So I'll see you on the flip side of this one. God bless you.
A little bit aware, I'm a historian of the history of the world and of North America for the last 200 years.
Well,
and I'm interested in the American way of talking about democracy.
Well, being French, you ought to know. I mean, you guys pretty much had a good history of it.
Yes, but one day a good friend of mine, who had been a Marine, he died, American, gave me a book. It was a paperback, and it was a story of the making of the American nation, with the Boston tea stuff and all this. And I read that. I mean, the discussion of freedom from England and all this. I thought, well, that's funny, because those American people, they don't make a big deal about that, but they invented the new way of a country decided on its own destiny, you know? And I understand that then later on things change, but still, the origin is amazingly democratic, except the idea of democracy was killed when, in my mind, a year ago, when I lost my wife, and that's because of her I'm here. We were in a Congress 30 years ago, and we had bought a book in India. She wrote the name of the place, India, and because of her manuscript message, I read the book, and I was by Thucydides, the Peloponnese War, and that's when Athens, the core of democracy, fought for democracy to be spread around. But but the problem is that the story is a very terrible story. Because, the Athens people did invent democracy. Or invent, I don't know, but they did practice it. Except, I'm a Democrat. We are Athens. We are the core of the empire. You, our neighbors, you have an oligarchy, or let's say a tyranny. That's no good. Do like we do. If you do like this, we won't conquer you. We will give you freedom. You have to pay some tax to the boss, but that's it. You will be part of the empire. If not, we'll kill you, and whoever survives will be a slave. And I realized, it does ring a bell. I've heard this before. And so, I write books. And because of your man, who doesn't like democracy but dares to say it, and people like Bush Jr. didn't, they went to Baghdad because of the name of supposedly democracy. I'm trying to struggle, but I'm not after a journalistic thing. I'm after philosophy. Really, what's the meaning of democracy, and what do we do with that? I understand it's a good idea, but a very dangerous weapon.
Well, anything that threatens the elitists, the people that have been in control of the resources for, let's say the past several thousand years, or at least 1,500 for sure, is a threat. Individuality is always a threat to control, people who want control. So when you say that, we kind of like took what the Greeks started with, the French kind of like move forward.
It's always the symbol, use Athens, the Greek, come on, but let's go down, read the history. And, it was very good for the Athenian people, really. But for the neighbors, wow, what a disaster.
Well, again, the definition, the redefining, the final, evolution of that, because democracy itself is horrible. When you have democracy, basically is the definition of democracy is two wolves and a sheep betting on what's for dinner. So, 51% of something gets to dictate over the others. Our founding fathers made it a republic where it's more spread out. People have more individuals, and smaller groups have more of a say, so you're not dictated by a minority. Give you, for instance, right now, there's a push by the left here to do away with the Electoral College. You're familiar with the Electoral College?
I understand that that's what put him, I don't know the detail, but I know that
our founding fathers put the Electoral College in so a majority of people, let's say in the cities, New York, San Francisco, LA, wouldn't dictate to the people in the center. In other words,
that was a purpose.
Yes.
That was a good purpose.
Yes. So it gives the people in the center of the country a voice. It allows them to be represented, because if you just allow the people in the cities to go ahead and, popular vote only, well, then they're going to dictate to people in the country that they really don't know how they live, what they believe in, or and so it helps to spread out the republic. It helps to give them representation. So you say that he doesn't believe in democracy.
He said, I read.
Well,
all I know.
Indeed, again,
he doesn't care, let's say, about the symbol, and to convince people like other presidents, hey, I fight for democracy. He just said, well, care.
Again, if you're fighting for democracy, you shouldn't be doing that. We're not a democratic. We're not a democracy. We're a republic. It's a difference.
I was at the widow of my friend. She just said that. I didn't ask. We had too few hours to talk, but she said that. Hey, we're not a democracy. We're a republic.
We don't have the word democracy is not in our Constitution.
No.
That is something that the elitists push in order to gain control. Again, before our Constitution was dry, the ink was dry on it, there were people trying to tear it apart. The people in power, the ones that have controlled the resources, the bankers, the ones that control the money, have always feared the people themselves having the power. So they've always, any time like a country like ours comes up, they try to tear it down. And throughout history, if you read history, if you look at it, there are cycles that happen. Right now we're going through that cycle where...
So it's China?
Yeah. So
I've studied Chinese ships 500 years ago, really deep for my PhD. And I tell you, it's the best example of long-term cycles.
Yes, indeed. And what's happening in Hong Kong right now? You got
it's
people...
just part of the long-term cycle. 500 years of utter collapse, that's China. And then suddenly, getting back to its fifth of humanity. I mean, we have let's say the data now to understand that Chinese people, for the last 23 centuries, have always been between 1/6 and 1/5 of the human population. That's something.
Yeah, indeed.
But within a single culture, not language, but the written language would be the same. So, wow, this is long term.
Yes.
Long term indeed. And the Communist Party is just, to me, another shape for the name empire.
Yes.
It's the Chinese way to survive in the very long term.
Now, though, with the fact that the world is basically smaller because of technology, we can communicate instantly. Ideas, everything. It's a two-sided sword in this instance, because if you follow history again, every tyrant, every elitist, which is connected to tyranny, wants to form a one-world monolithic government. So you have now, for the first time in the lexicon, everyday language, two words that come up a lot: nationalism and globalism. The globalists are the ones
going strong, yeah.
Globalism, or is the one world, monolithic, one monetary system. The nationalism is to have nation states, keeping our individuality. So he's a nationalist, allegedly. So that's why he gets a lot of pushback from, because the globalists, you have now some of our representatives yesterday talking about having the UN control our borders.
That's to spare money for the war?
No, that's to go ahead and eviscerate the borders and allow the overflow. In other words, to allow the free flow of humanity to go anywhere they want. That destroys cultures. That brings us all down to the lowest common denominator. We're no longer individuals. That gives the elitists the path to tyranny, to go ahead and come in with their one world rule. That's what we're fighting now. There's an agenda, the UN agenda, Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030. Agenda 2030, essentially, in its drive, what it wants to do is eviscerate all borders. Get rid of borders. Form a one world government, put people in city-states, using as a backdrop the global warming excuse of sustainability, that we have to save the planet. To put people in city-states and allow nature to flourish. It's a lie. It's all about control.
has nothing to do with saving the planet. It is about communism. It is about one rule government. It is about putting us in little compartments and controlling us. About what we can see, what we can say.
Just one thing. 50 years ago, would you be alive in the street like this, telling the people your ideas?
Sure.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Matter of fact, probably more so. Probably more so. Today, they're actually stopping people like me. They're taking people like me off the internet. So, in the land of free speech, you have groups here, if you've heard of Antifa. Antifa is basically what the equivalent would be the brown shirts of the Nazis, who are leftists, who dress up in black and they violently stop free speech. They've stopped people from speaking in Berkeley at the college campus there. That's where free speech movement started back in the 50s and 60s. Now they have people there stopping free speech. So it's gone full circle. It's gone 180 degrees, actually. Where you now have a divide, which, again, the elitists want. Divide and
what about the extreme right? I read a week ago the coming up of Hitler. I had no idea. Wow. I mean, it just came from the base, you know. And Hitler had, of course, he had the idea of many people of his time because Germany was crushed by the war damage, crushed literally. And so people were fighting to survive, for food, for everything. But Hitler had one thing. He had good acoustics. So to me, I think, you know, I'm an archaeologist. I went from anthropology. I tend to think, hey, that's funny. I read all the philosophy I can now. I need 68 years old before dying. I need to understand something about the ideas of the others. But, well, it sounds like Hitler, his little voice, his scream was making magics in the ears of intelligent people in Germany. Conclusion, my conclusion. Well, little animals, just like ducks in Indonesia. You know, how do you get? I don't know if you ever raise a duck. So I gave one like this to my wife once. If you put it next to your shoe is yellow. The duck will think the yellow is his mother, which means you will fall. And I think we humans are not very far from that.
No, Hitler himself said, you give me a child at the age of 3, he's mine for life. But you have to look at who funded Hitler.
You're right.
The
money was there.
Hitler would not be where he was if it wasn't for the Rothschilds.
Yeah, the money
and they
was there.
funded both sides, just like they funded communism and capitalism. Because, again, the global elitists always need two sides. You need enemies. In order to go ahead and control people, you need to divide them. You need to label them.
If you want how do you say, a note, how do we say a note at the end of a page on a book, you know, on an academic book? Footnote.
Yes.
Footnote from French oil industry. Yours is no better. In Africa 25 years ago, the head of the company went to jail because he used the money to make something his house beautiful, so they took it to jail finally. But his tough guys, one of them was traveling every time there was an election in Congo, I don't know where exactly, but it was told to me by the people in the team. He would travel with 2 suitcases full of notes.
Yeah.
He would give one full suitcase to the future president,
right,
and another suitcase to the opponent.
Right.
So in case, you know, as you said, you always put your money on the 2 sides, so you always win.
Yes.
But this doesn't go to the history book most of the time.
No. But I'm trying to remember the full name of this. It was on the bestseller list for a long time. Confessions of a CIA hitman or something. Anyway, it was about a man who he was the guy. and this is how it
That
works.
kind of guy with a
He said this is how it works. First we go in and we try to buy them. That doesn't work. Then we try to create insurrection. If that doesn't work, we go in and to try to kill them. If that doesn't work, we start a war with them. So
he wrote that.
yeah.
And was it his personal idea, or was it coming from the hierarchy? Was it the explicit algorithm?
He works for the government. He worked for the government. He worked for what is now known as the deep state.
And of course, the boss
shadow
say
government.
all this is lie. After the book was published, I imagine the hierarchy says all this is lie.
Oh, well, they
they
can
don't
say
know.
whatever they want. It was on the bestseller list for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, you can believe what you want. They can try. Of course, they're going to try to knock it down. Of course,
Because, you know,
they're gonna try and say
as an
it's lie.
archaeologist, my question regarding America.
It was Confessions of an Economic Hitman. That was the name of the book. Confessions of an Economic Hitman.
I'll try to look at it. My question as an archaeologist, you know, is how do you say, ballistics, you know?
Right.
Ballistics, they don't care about politics. They go, boom, stupid bullet, boom. What happened to the bullets who killed Kennedy? Why the biggest democracy? I asked that to a good friend of mine, a scientist. Why doesn't the biggest democracy in the world tell the world what happened? And he's Canadian, Australian, he's Genevieve. You are completely, how do you say, out of the world. Democracy was 2,500 years ago in Athens. I had it in my hand. That's a bronze box, you know, where the Greek people would vote. Because everybody knows that Kennedy was killed because he was opposing some contract for the war.
Yeah, and he wanted to bring back.
Everybody knows. I don't know, but there is no official explanation yet. And this is archaeology.
He wanted to get rid of the central banks, bring back so we can print our own money. That was probably number one reason he was killed. But they lied to us. These guys lied to us because they're controlled by the CIA. Our media is CIA controlled.
And you control the CIA.
Well, the elitists, the people who pay them. I would go to the central bankers at the head of the snake. They are the head of the snake. The Bank of England, the Rothschilds, they're the top of the snake. That's it. They're the head of it. They're the ones who controlling everything. Groups, have you ever heard of the Bilderberg group? Look them up.
I'm not in the, you know, I told you that through the history of Greece from the book, you know, that's really intimate stuff, and I am no
Well, the secret
analyst.
societies really rule. The CFR, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Club of Rome, the Pilgrim Society. If you look at the people that belong to these groups, they are all the same elitists. They are all intermarried.
I don't know what's your activity as a professional, but what I mean is a good friend of mine, he's a journalist in Portugal. For some reason, we've been friends for about 30 years. For some reason, he doesn't want to give me every detail of what his work, but he made his PhD recently. I suppose he's working very close to the Portuguese militaries, which is part of NATO, and he's probably part of the internal press or whatever.
Right.
So he's more informed than me, at least.
Right.
You, I don't know, but me, yes. You know what's his theory? And this is where that's just like the Hitler acoustic. Well, back to music. He says, have you noticed the way Trump and the Korean guy shake hands? No. I've seen a picture or two, like everybody, but I don't watch TVs, you know, so it has to be while I'm writing my email. Second, he said, look at that's a good thing for you to investigate.
Oh, no.
I don't know if my friend he was not trying to bullshit me. He was convinced of that, but maybe it's bullshit what he told me. And what he said, look at the ant.
Secret handshakes, symbols, all of it is real as death. It's real as death. Yes,
okay.
there are as a secret. I mean,
Yeah, but the thing I don't understand, if that's secret, come on, don't do it in public. If anybody with a picture can show the way the guy is, I think it's the way to put the thumb or whatever. This is Mason stuff.
Yes, but it is their way.
Is this myth?
No, it is in their philosophy that if they project it out there, in other words, it's called projection with them. It gives them power. They actually tell us what they're going to do to us and do it to us in front of us. But if we bring it up, we're conspiracy theorists and kooks. So they project it in our face. And then when we point it out, they go, oh, you're crazy. But it gives them power. They feel it gives them power.
How many people like you have a similar, activism in the state? Just an estimate.
A growing number, but I would say there's probably a good 15%. I would say that
15%.
Yeah.
And what will you do in the election if it's no secret? Because it's funny, in Portugal, because they had a dictatorship for 40 years, everybody tells you who is going to vote for. In my country, France, you never, even my father, I could guess, but he never told me. It's kind of, like going to the toilet. Yeah.
It used to be that way here. But now it's more out in the open.
From one culture to another.
Yeah. Now it's more out in the open. But it used to be you didn't, most people didn't talk about who they voted for or what they.
It's, in French we call it pudeur. You know what? Pudeur is when you don't you don't show you don't go naked in front of a woman or whatever.
Now that's not the way here because bringing it out again is a matter of control. You actually know. It's like that's why a lot of the internet itself was essentially brought out and to allow us to do the government's work for them and finding out what we are and what we do. We willingly give them information. We put everything down in Facebook. They got us pinned. So we give it to them.
Were you on Facebook?
Yeah, but
a friend of a friend in Portugal. She was an activist for freedom, or whatever. She got cut.
Yeah. Well, I only use it essentially to sign into other sites. I don't go on it and post. But it makes no difference. I've got a website. I've got a YouTube channel. A lot of my conversations out here I post. They know me. They know who I am. I've had the spooks come out here.
Imagine.
And
figure out the way to.
They try to date me and
that's a job.
So I'm
paid for that.
Well, I'm not hiding from it. I'm not hiding. I'm here. I'm not going to hide. I'm an old fart. What do I give a shit if what are they going to do to me? At this stage of my life, what do I care? So I'm out here to fight them. I'm out here to do what I can.
I'm 68.
72.
Almost the same club.
Yeah. But it's like I'm here. I don't give a damn anymore. I don't have a family to worry about. I don't give a damn. So,
that helps.
Yeah. So I've got that freedom to do this. So go ahead. Do what you want. Now I assume, this is only a theory in my head, I assume they keep me out here just to keep track of what other people say also. You probably go ahead.
So this is the idea that people pose for a photograph.
Yeah.
And that's to express their idea or just for a joke or both?
Both. I mean, it's start to get conversations like this. My artwork is to draw people
and
in.
you don't feel like you should put all this on paper because when you will be died within 50 years it will be there, and if it's really good, I mean, which means if you really work your ideas, the more it will cross the Atlantic.
My videos hopefully will be there. I'm saving.
No, I'm an archaeologist. You have no guarantee about the hardware.
We have no guarantee about the books. I'm reading again. Bradbury's Fahrenheit.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so I mean, we have no guarantee the books will be there.
I ended my PhD thesis with a sentence from him. Yeah. He said, "We are just emotionalists. We reach the heart faster than scientists.
Yes.
It was an empirical approach. I love it. Great writer.
Yes.
Great guy. Well, sir, thanks a lot for feeding opening the scope of my idea of America.
Well, thank you for allowing me the opportunity. But I would ask you to go. There's an excellent book to read. I finished a few months ago that will give you a good scope of the ruling classes and the secret societies from beginning to today. It's easy to remember. Hope it's not prophetic. It's called The Killing of Uncle Sam. Highly recommend it. And it starts with Cecil Rhodes out of England, the conquest of Africa, and from there being able to spread around the world and create these secret societies that would...
Cecil Rhodes, that's the end of the 19th century, right?
Cecil Rhodes. That's where the Rhodes Scholarship come from and everything else. So it is the formation of the...
There is one thing which might interest you. It's very technical, but it definitely is the same music. It's a guy, an engineer, he just retired, he must be 71 now. His name is Theodore Postol, P-O-S-T-O-L. A very brave man. He was a military engineer, not a military, he was a nuclear engineer. And I found his work amazingly in Bangkok, in my little hotel. It was very technical, but incredibly well written and powerful message. And then in history and culture and technology, so it's academic work. Well, the message was very simple. In the first war, your war in Baghdad, he was looking at TV at home, was looking the Patriot missile hitting the other missile from Saddam. But he's an expert, you know. Give me a tape of another fire. And the article, 40 pages, footnotes, everything. Well, sorry, gentlemen, but in 42 tirs, you missed 41 times. I'm the expert. FBI, and 2 years later, he was, professor, okay, to the Congress, we apologize, you were right. Because his message was only this. This is all bullshit you were trying to prove, because you never hit. It exploded, yes, but not in the missile it was supposed to hit. And I'm here to try to defend my country. And we have a Star Wars system, but it's a shit. It doesn't work the way you I don't know if the way you think, no, the way you tell the people.
Well, they lie to us. Let me give you another
Postol puts everything, his PowerPoint were online, everything. Yes. Engineer, professor at the MIT. So I mean, hey, that's a good signal for your republic to allow a guy like this not to be shot. I mean, 100 years ago he would have been shot, I'm sure.
Well, there's too many of us. There's another expert in ballistics who is a general here. 28 years, his job was to analyze photographs and tell what made that explosion, what it was. He looked at 9/11, and he said, no, what hit the Pentagon was not a plane. It was not a plane. That was not a plane. He says what brought down the Twin Towers was not planes. It's impossible.
And a general.
He was a general.
And a specialist of ballistics?
Special, 28 years.
General?
28 years his job was to analyze ballistics.
And that's published?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You remember the name of the guy or the title?
General Stubblebine. General Stubblebine. And
as I said, I don't know what happened, but this guy, admitting he's no crook, and he's not paid by those to lie to everybody. If not, It's a really interesting testimony.
Well, indeed, and that's why I say we're being lied to on such a massive scale that if the people here were to know the truth of what's really going on, there would be a revolution before the sun hit the ground. But we are being lied to on such a massive scale. And here's, and you being a philosopher, know this.
You know why philosophers are interesting? When they talk. What? Truth. What is truth? What is it for? And all this is about this question. You know?
Well, indeed, but most people would rather believe the lie. Because the truth is so disturbing, then they have a choice. What do you do when you know the truth? It's either fight or flight.
A friend of mine in Portugal told me about the French history. There was a man, Richelieu, he was a clerk, powerful one, cardinal. And he said, my friend told me, Jenny, you dreamer, la raison d'État, the reason of state.
God bless you.
Thank you, yes.
In name of the raison d'État, you can do anything. If you know, raison d'État, so you will kill, you will do whatever. Because the raison d'État is what requires to be followed. Wow. Have you grandchildren?
No.
Okay. Because I was going to ask you, what's the message to your grandchildren?
Well,
Is it hope?
well, it's only one hope right now. And the understanding that we're heading for a great, great, great catalytic cleansing. There are two things we're heading at that are probably going to wipe out a great deal of the population of the world. And if we're not careful, we'll wipe it all out soon. The first, most prevalent thing will be an economic worldwide collapse. That's inevitable. When that happens, well, to give you an idea, when we had our Great Depression, when 90% of the people in this country were agrarian, could grow their own food, still 7 million people starved to death.
Starved to death?
Starved to death in this country.
Is that documented somewhere?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's when most of the people could grow food. Today, 90% of these people couldn't grow weeds with instructions, and there are a lot more of us. When the food stops coming in, because we're getting it from where? We're not growing it 10 miles away or 5 miles away. We're getting it from across 5,000 miles away. And those food chains...
Everything was coming from it.
Thank you. When those food chains stop, the starvation that's going to happen after economic collapse will create, and every time we have an economic collapse, it's usually a world war. Well, today we've got weapons far, far superior to anything we've ever had before that can crack the earth in two. So it's a good chance if we have a world war, we could wipe ourselves out. Another aspect of it is this. We didn't have nuclear plants back then. We've got 448 nuclear plants now. Well, there's only 5,000 people that know how to run those plants. If they can't get to work, those plants melt down. We got hundreds of Fukushimas all over the place.
What's that?
The Fukushima, the plant in Japan that, the tsunami hit and melted down, or Chernobyl. I mean, we have nuclear plants that'll just go belly up. There's going to be no one there to keep them cool, to keep the reactors cool, to keep the nuclear waste cool. So when this stuff is just allowed to explode, we're going to have the equivalent of hundreds, if not thousands, of nuclear bombs.
You remember Chernobyl?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
My father-in-law was a doctor. He was very active in the cultural activity in the little provincial town, very active. And he was invited to go to Strasbourg, which was at the time the beginning of the European community, through a lady, a former nun, who was a politician. She was the prime minister for some years. And he came back from there for some documentation which were not given to the broad public, but which were available within the building there. And one of them was regarding the Chernobyl cloud over Europe. And there was a note by the French Météorologie Nationale for monitoring everything, of course. And it's wonderful because the cloud, you know,
Went all the way to England.
knew exactly the French border and would not enter France. Fantastic. This is okay. Except there was a note that said we cannot give the information to the public to avoid panic. So there were herbs being sold to the public, you know. As
Yes.
the public bought that and had
Yes.
no access to that information. Okay, probably it might not be lethal. I don't know. But the truth is that it was a deliberate lie.
Yes.
An order from the top to
Yes.
so. And the paper is somewhere in the family house, you know. So, and I remember this is deep inside information. Good stuff. Rare. We
But
rarely
it's leaked
have
out.
accept-
Other people know. Other people have published the cloud. It's been
Probably
yeah,
everything
yeah.
is on the internet. At that time, I remember.
Yeah.
But just after, it was really an information we had no access to it. Really, sir.
It's been a pleasure, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I don't do anything about political activity, but if for some reason that's maybe useful one day, I write books. And the thing about democracy, I'm gonna after it. One day, or sooner or later, I'll write it down. So I don't know if you want my contact.
Will send it to me. My email's
Okay,
there.
I'll send it to you.
Please do. I'd like to read some of your work. I'd like to
My
read some of
writing
your
is
work.
normally about nautical archaeology. But you know, ships transport people, and people think.
Well,
even at sea.
Indeed, I love architectural archaeology. There's a guy by the name of Stephen Quayle. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he does a lot of archaeology into ancient history, and it's quite interesting.
Keep the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Informing the people.
Thank you.
Bye.
Well, how was that, huh? I did my best. I enjoyed speaking to foreigners in a way because it slows me down where I have to explain myself in a cadence that I can actually maybe collect some of my thoughts and I'm a bit more articulate in how I'm saying things. So anyway, it was fun. So anyway, thanks for coming by. Hit the subscribe button, like button, and contribute. God bless you. See you on the streets.